Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, we are back. We were on a hiatus, mainly because I was sick, but I learned that you were also sick, Cody. So we've been under the weather, but we're coming back ready to podcast, preview UCLA versus USC, the final regular season preview on our hands, Cody. But like I said, glad to be back and glad to be podcasting with you.
Yeah, it's good to be back in studio. I missed doing the episode last week, but obviously understandably so. We both weren't feeling great. And people were coming for you on Twitter
No, they were.
as well about your immune system.
I invited that.
Dion tweeted something too.
Putting me in a bubble, yes.
Yeah, putting you in the bubble. But speaking of that, though, fortunate enough, you and Dion did do an episode after the Washington game. So you didn't miss a full week. But for us doing the preview episode, it's good to be back. I did miss doing it, and I hate when we can't put an episode out. But again, what better way to get back on track against UCLA this week? I'm excited to talk about this episode. And what better way for this team to kind of turn the page, right? Put everything in the past, go out, get a win against the Bruins, and keep the victory bell here in South Central.
Yeah, no matter the season, always look forward to this matchup. So excited for this episode, Cody. Before we dive into it, just a couple of reminders. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can leave a review on your podcasting app. It helps grow the show, and we greatly appreciate everyone who's done that so far. And also, if you ever want to get your voice heard, be sure to look out for a tweet or a question box on either Twitter or Instagram. Our socials are VictoryPodUSC, and we usually put that out a day before we record. We are on the edge of the end of the season, so that will change, but TBD on that. And we also have to announce an emoji winner, Cody, for the giveaway from 2 weeks ago, so TBD for that. Also, PSA, we will be sending out merch. We have a bye week next week, so I will have more time on my hands. We'll be getting on that and shipping things out. We promise you will get your merch. I've just been in the craziness of season, Cody.
Yeah, and we're a little behind, but it works better when we do it all together.
A
so we
batch
can get
order.
and plus, just so everyone knows, we do all of that ourselves. Like we don't have people that help us.
Yeah.
Now we have two great interns with Tierney and Jada. Emily's here today too as well, that do a great job with behind the scenes stuff, producing and all that. But when it comes to ordering, like Keely orders, I get the orders, and my wife Paige is the one that sends everything out. So
yeah,
just
it's
so
not
you
even
know,
us really. It's like a whole
it's a
triple
combination.
operation.
But yeah, like you said, we will get everything out. We're sorry for that, for the delay, but we have never missed someone getting their merch. So I promise you,
Yes.
from the last couple of weeks when we did the giveaway, when we didn't have the tickets anymore, those will be coming soon.
Yes.
It'll be something to look forward to for the holidays, for
Sure,
Thanksgiving
look
and
at that.
Christmas and all that. So
well done, Cody.
there we
Way
go.
to wrap it up.
we did it on purpose. We were waiting for the holidays.
Yeah, 40 chess over here. Alrighty, Cody. Before we dive into the actual preview or the meat and potatoes of the show, I want to get your thoughts. What we mentioned earlier at the top of the show, we weren't able to get your thoughts on head coach Lincoln Riley parting ways with defensive coordinator Alex Grinch. Just wondering your thoughts on that whole situation.
Yeah, just first and foremost, it had to happen, right? It was the right move to make. And I know it can be tough. I've been a part of teams to where you lose a coach mid-season, and unfortunately for me, it's been a head coach all of those times. But it's tough for any of the players, for the coaching staff involved, because it's not just the product on the field, right? Us as fans see everything that happens on the field, and it was not getting done, right? The job was not being done the way it needed to be done to compete at a high level here. So I understand the move, and I think it is the right move. But at the same time, it is tough. You could tell when Coach Riley talked about it, that's a close friend of his, someone he's been with for a long time. But in this profession, you have to be able to check that friendship at the door, right? And that's what Coach Riley did. And it's tough for some of the players as well. Some of these players committed to Alex Grinch, right? They knew they were going to come play for him. They wanted to play for the scheme that he had here at USC. But at the end of the day, it's been 2 years now where we just haven't seen the production from the defensive side of the ball that we need to see to be competitive. And we also aren't getting better. That was the biggest frustration for me, was you weren't seeing the progress from year one to year two that we hope to see. But at the end of the day, Alex Grinch, he does have a family. He does have stuff involved. And I promise you, he wanted us to be great, right? No one wanted it more than Coach Grinch, and he was very honest every time in press conferences saying, I need to be better. I'm not doing a good job. But you can only say that for so long before something needs to happen. And again, Coach Riley, in my opinion, made the right move. Now going forward, this is going to be, for Coach Riley and his career, or up to this point at least, the single most important hire that he's going to make, who the next defensive coordinator is going to be, because it's not just, okay, I need to find someone to compete in the Pac-12, right? We're changing conferences. Big Ten is a completely different style of football than we're used to seeing in the Pac-12. So this next hire for Coach Riley, and I've seen all the rumor stuff on Twitter of who they want, and obviously we're not going to give our opinion on that. That's the coaching staff's decision. Now I think in the offseason we can kind of talk a little bit more about it as it picks up steam.
Yeah, as options out there. And
yeah,
whatnot.
exactly. But for right now, in my opinion, this is going to be the biggest hire for Coach Riley in his career, and it has to be a home run hire.
And what will be fascinating is he hasn't had many DC hires since becoming a head coach, a guy in charge. Has his opinion evolved since the original Alex Grinch DC hiring of defensive philosophies, or where he lies on all that? I'm very curious to see where this one goes.
Yeah, that's a great point. But that's why it's so important. And I say that, and obviously everyone knows, right? We have an offense that's been explosive, been up and down a little bit this year, but defense is where we have lacked. That's where we need to really pick it up and get to that championship level of football and competing year in and year out, not only for conference championships, but for a national championship. You have to have a top 10 offense, a top 10 defense, or at least top 20, right? Give me somewhere to where we're seeing improvement, but this year on the defensive side of the ball, we didn't see that. And now for Coach Riley, it's not only hey, I need to get a great defensive coordinator that fits well with the scheme and all that. You've got to find a great recruiter that knows how to put guys in place to succeed on the defensive side of the ball and knows how to play physical, dominant, aggressive defense, because that's what it's going to take going into the Big Ten, because that's the type of football that we're going to see when we play in that conference. But I'm excited. I have full faith and full trust in Lincoln Riley, and I know he's going to make the right decision and find that right hire, and I do know he's going to do his due diligence to make sure it's a home run hire, but either way, I'm excited to see where the future of USC football is going. And I know we're getting a little ahead here, and I'm excited for the offseason episodes where we can dive into it a little bit more. But it is big news, and it's something that needed to happen.
Now, we don't expect a change to happen in 6 days, but I was just curious, when looking at the Oregon game, what did you see from this USC defense under co-defensive coordinators Sean Nua and Brian Odom?
Yeah, that's kind of hand in hand of what we were just talking about, right? Like when you fire a defensive coordinator, it's not going to change everything, right? You're not going to get new personnel. You're not going to be able to change a scheme in 6 days. And there are times, too, and Sua said it great on the Trojan Tailgate on his defensive preview, or what do we call it? The defensive game plan segment. Yeah. He talked about, hey, there are times, and I don't want to use Grinch as a scapegoat is what he was saying, but there are times that we were in a scheme that was not fit well for the offense that we were playing, but there are also times that he would call a home run play call and guys would miss tackles. Guys were in positions to succeed and not getting it done. So there are two parts to that. But on defense, you lean more towards the defensive coordinator. Offense, you can maybe put some blame on the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. On defense, there's really not one player in particular that you can blame. It's more so it all falls on the defensive coordinator's shoulders. And I say that kind of leading into this is a lot of the same issues this week, right, that we've seen from before. And the biggest one for me, and my first point, was eliminating explosive plays. We did not do that, right? We're dead last in the country of giving up explosive plays. We're dead last in giving up 50-plus yard plays. That's insane to me that you can't get that fixed, right? It's a little frustrating, but if you look at Oregon's first 2 drives, right? 2 plays, 83 yards, 49 seconds, touchdown. 3 plays, 81 yards, 1:21, touchdown. That just cannot happen when you're trying to build momentum on the road. The 2 most important things are your run game and defense. And right, we didn't start fast on defense. I got the crowd involved. It made it louder for the offense to go back out there. But yeah, and just Bo Nix, right? He started the game 2 of 2 for 160 and 2 touchdowns. That's just, you want to take out a red dot guy, that's the way not to do it.
Yeah.
But again, I said all that because when you fire a defensive coordinator, it's not going to fix everything, right? We saw some of the same issues, and that was the first one to me that really stood out, and we could not eliminate those big plays all night long.
And to me, it ties into the second point that you have. I'm looking at your notes here.
Yeah.
You said too many times guys were out of place or confused on the call, and I feel like when you have such explosive plays happen, you have to be messed up on not understanding your responsibility.
Exactly, and that is kind of a trickle effect from previous games, right? We saw against Cal, those 2 explosive run plays from Jay Knott. Guys aren't lined up. Guys are looking around. Again, I'm pulling from Sua, one of the great defenders ever played at USC, but defensive game plan for that. Guys not lined up in the right spot. Guys are looking over the sideline, and then you go back and watch the Oregon game, and I watched it 2 or 3 times. When you watch the tape, there are multiple plays where guys are looking around pre-snap, trying to figure out what the call is. Not even worried about, hey, are we in the right formation, lined up right? Just looking, hey, waving, what's the call here? There's one in particular where Damani Jackson is looking at the sideline, trying to yell at Kalen Bullock at the safety, or trying to yell to Odom or Nua on the sideline, what's the coverage? And then the ball snapped, and he has no time to react. Now he thinks there's cloud coverage and I have help over the top, but really he's the deep third defender, so he stays underneath and we give up a huge explosive play down the sideline. There's another play where the defensive line is literally shifting, and I don't mean shifting pre-snap trying to confuse the offense. They're running around on opposite sides of the field trying to mix to get to the other side because they don't know the play call, or they're late getting the call and not lining up in time. And the most frustrating part for me about all of this is is when the ball's snapped, right, you're going to lose one-on-one battles. It's going to happen. It's football. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to have a play where an offense got you, right? They called the right play. You can't do anything about it. But we are hurting ourselves. We're not controlling what we can control, and a big part of that is pre-snap. There's nothing an offense can do pre-snap besides a motion or a shift or something like that to where they're going to win the play, right? We are putting ourselves in a terrible position before the ball snapped because we're just not getting lined up. We're not communicating right, and that leads to guys being out of place to walk in touchdowns. The one, I think, in the second quarter, Bo Nix does a little scramble, rolls out to the right, and there's a guy wide open in the end zone because it's a blown coverage. And it wasn't like he ran around like Caleb Williams does for 10, 15 seconds, and we have to cover. It was a simple escape to the right, guy wide open in the end zone, no one within 15 yards of him. So that's the frustrating part for me, is that we're losing some plays before the ball's even snapped because either A, we don't know the call, or we know the call and we can't get lined up right, or guys just aren't figuring it out and knowing what their responsibilities are pre-snap. And that's a frustrating thing to happen because that's something we can control.
Yeah, 100%. Now, something else that stood out to me was obviously the depth for USC's defensive backs was just awful. I mean, when you have a wide receiver turn, now you're making him play corner in Mekhi Lemon, the depth is an issue against Oregon at corner, but that's an area where I feel like you've highlighted all season long, Cody, where that development just hasn't happened.
Yeah, it's tough for me. And we saw flashes this year, right? Christian Roland-Wallace has played well at times. You know, he gave up a couple big plays last week, but it's just a consistency of it. And what you were just talking about, we had Mekhi Lemon out there who's a true freshman wide receiver playing corner because of the frustrations this year in covering, because we don't have guys out there that are solidifying their spots as the cover one, corner, cover two, or cornerback one, cornerback two, left and right, whatever you want to call it. Guys aren't solidifying those spots, and now we're rotating. Another guy we saw, Traquan Fagans, came in and played. Prophet Brown is playing a lot more, and that tells me two things. One, obviously there's not enough consistency there, a guy that's separating themselves.
And injuries, yes.
Injuries as well, but also it feels like maybe it was the end of the season. Towards the end of the season, we're trying to see what we have in some of these younger players. We're trying to see what we have in the future going forward to where we've seen enough opportunities with Damani Jackson on tape that we can go back and look at, enough opportunities from Christian Roland-Wallace, Jalen Smith, guys like that. Now we're rotating, putting some new players out there to see, hey, let's see if this works. Let's see if this fixes some of those issues. But again, even when there's a couple plays there where Prophet was in or Traquan was in, and Traquan played well. I thought he played a decent game, had no missed tackles, had 5 tackles on the day, played well in coverage, but there were some plays where just you could tell there were younger guys or newer guys out there giving up 8-yard cushions on a 15-yard route where you just can't do that. You have to be able to break and react on the football. But, yeah, that's been a frustrating thing for me, and it's trickled into safety a little bit. Outside of Kalen Bullock, you know, we've seen Bryson Shaw. Now there's injuries, right? But Bryson Shaw rotating. Then you see Zion Branch get a couple plays, then he gets injured. Then Max Williams has some injuries. So the stability on the defensive side of the ball, and more specifically in the secondary, has been a frustrating thing for me. But whoever the new defensive coordinator is, priority one for me is going to be maybe 1A, 1B is go get a front four that can be aggressive and get after the quarterback, but also go find 2 corners that can play man-to-man, can lock down and cover all night long.
Yeah, because that'll make your life so much easier.
So much easier, and it gives you so many more opportunities to mix up the front seven, right? Let's just call man-to-man, know that we're going to cover well, put a great safety at the back, Kalen Bullock. Now, I don't know, obviously, if we're going to have Kalen again next year if he stays or leaves, but put a great one high safety in the back, put a great safety that can rotate down in the box and be physical, and trust our corners to play on an island, play man-to-man all night long, and let your pass rush get home. And we're just lacking right now in that, and you can see it affect us not only in getting home and getting sacks, but also covering long enough in the back end to allow those rushes to get home.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on the offensive side of the ball, their performance, but any final thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, just kind of what I just said right there. The last thing is we talked so much in the offseason about how this new look front four, front seven was, and just the production the last couple of weeks has been frustrating for me, right? 0 sacks in this game. That's 2 sacks in the last 5 games, and it was so promising starting out. Now, yes, I know the competition has gotten better, and there are some guys. We had some injury issues, some rotation issues, trying to figure out who that front seven was going to be. But just 2 sacks in the last 5 games, 5 sacks in the last 6. We're averaging less than a sack a game right now. It's just frustrating. But a big part of that is what I just said, going hand in hand. You have to be able to cover well. There are times when we have a great pass rush or a home run call and we have a blitz on. But last week, Bo Nix takes 1 step and there's a guy wide open, right? We're not covering well enough. So those work hand in hand. And that'll be the biggest thing for me this offseason is cover corners and an elite pass rush. You have to have that, especially going into the Big Ten. And the last thing for me, and I'll only say it once, third downs when we're giving up, and I think Sue or Dion, someone tweeted about it as well during the game, and I was so frustrated watching it. And one that sticks out in particular was 3rd and 8, a momentum type of drive for Oregon coming out of their own end zone. We pinned them deep in their, I think they're inside the 5. It's 3rd and 8, and we're playing 10 to 12 yards off the ball. And we give an easy underneath route to Terrence Ferguson, their tight end, and he picks up 8. Right? It's just frustrating for me. There's too many times on 3rd down where we're giving too much and allowing them to catch the ball and fall forward for a first down instead of making contested catches or making it difficult for them to pick up the yardage. And if you do that and you play that far off the ball, you have to come up and tackle. And we've struggled with missed tackles. And just in my opinion, it's been too easy to pick up some of those first downs. But overall, again, with the defense, you're not going to change everything in 6 days just because we got rid of Alex Grinch. It's not going to fix everything. It seems like it's a lot of the same issues recurring week in and week out, and that's going to be a huge thing to address this offseason.
Now over to the offense, and it kind of goes with your last point about, you know, the production over for sacks and whatnot. Over on the offensive side too as well, this whole game just felt like the product of one program has recruited really well for the past several years in the trenches on both sides, and one program has missed out on those key guys. So it looked like Caleb was just under attack all night long. The offensive line just could not get it done on Saturday.
Yeah, that was my first main point. Offensive line protection has to be better. But I did say there are 2 parts to that, right? There are times where Caleb will save the offense line. He does a great job, phenomenal. Made some big-time plays the other night. He's done it all year long, really his whole career, to where there's blown assignments up front, and he'll make guys miss. He'll run around and find guys open and does these Houdini magician-type plays to where you think he's done. And I'll be in the stands or watching at home saying, throw it away. And then he does a great job of finding someone open, and I'll shut my mouth and say, okay, I don't know what I'm talking about.
And I actually asked him, and I forgot to talk about this 2 weeks ago when we were podcasting. I asked him about that at practice. I was like, how do you navigate that whole dynamic of throw it away or make the play? Because you are someone who's the best in the nation at making something out of nothing. How do you judge that? How do you do that? And it seemed like a genuine answer where he was like, it's really hard for me, and it's weird, he said, because he doesn't know when to, you know, make it happen or just kind of be vanilla in that sense and throw it away. So it was interesting getting his input finally.
Yeah, and I'm glad he said that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the second part of that, and it sounds like he understands that, is when you do have an offensive line that's struggling, yes, you have to be able to make plays with your feet and run around, and it helps to have an athletic quarterback back there that can make things happen, but sometimes it hurts you, right? Sometimes there were plays where the offensive line did a great job in protection, and Caleb couldn't find anyone open, or he wasn't seeing the field well, or guys weren't getting separation, and now he runs around, and this great pass protection turns into a sack or a sack fumble or something, and it obviously shows up on the offensive line. But there are times, in my opinion, where he does hold the football too long, and obviously your question to him made it sound like he realizes that and understands that.
Yeah.
But it's a tough push-pull. But overall, the frustrating part for me up front is when we lose immediately at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack. There were too many times against Oregon, and you said it about, you know, just the difference of how good that front seven is for Oregon. They have great players, right? I'm not going to take away and say, hey, our offensive line is just terrible. We are going up against very good competition right now, and Oregon is one of the better pass rushes in the Pac-12, but we can't lose at the point of the attack, especially with a 4 or 5-man rush. You have to be able to find 5 guys that can win their one-on-one blocks, play in and play out. There can't be excuses of, oh, okay, I won 1 of the last 3. Or, hey, I got 2 of 3, that's good. No, you have to be able to win every time. You're going to miss a block here and there, but just looking at the numbers, we're 100th in the country right now in sacks allowed. That's at 29 for the season. That's not productive football. That's not how you win football games. That's not how you win conference and national championships. You have to have a great offensive line, because really, in this day and age in football, yes, it's a lot more pass heavy. Yes, he's spread air raid offenses, but in my opinion, it's still won on the offensive line and the defense line in the trenches week in and week out, and we're starting to see the effects of that and see this offense slow down a little bit, and a big part of that is the offensive line struggling.
Something I've been curious about is USC's fumbling issues. Is that something where we saw that last season they were able to recover it at a better rate than this season, or is this just unique to this season where USC is just losing the ball this much?
Yeah, I feel like it's unique to this season. I don't remember, and I'd have to go back and watch some of the tape, but I don't remember having this many fumbles, and especially from Caleb, right? And he did such a great job of protecting the football, both through the air and when he had the ball in his hands. And they always tell you, when you have the ball in your hand, you have the team in your hand, right? You have the team's life in your hands. When you have the football, the number one thing is protect that football, whatever it takes, go to the ground, get down, but you still have the football in your hands. Now, we've lost 9 fumbles on the year, which is unacceptable. That's 113th in college football. You cannot win football games like that. But the other side to that is playing complementary football, right? Offense is losing more turnovers this year, and we're not getting as many on the defensive side of the ball as we saw last year. So we're not anywhere near where we were in turnover margin. Last year, I think we were first in the country or top 5 by the end of the year.
It was the strength of the team.
But this year, that's where we've seen some of that production go down, and some of them are very timely mistakes, right? 2 weeks ago against Washington, the one with Caleb right before the half just can't happen. Then last week, or the one against Cal too, a couple weeks ago, we got a great turnover by Eric Gentry, and then come back very next play, sack fumble, right? And those work hand in hand going back to offensive line protection and also Caleb knowing when to get rid of the football. But there's just sometimes where I feel like Caleb may be doing too much, and he has the ball out, not great protection, not great ball security. But again, it's tough to take that away because Caleb has been
do so much.
He's our offense right now, right? We've got good players. Taj Washington, Brennan Rice, Marshawn Lloyd play well, but everything runs through the quarterback, and we have the best in the entire country. But sometimes when he tries to do too much or puts too much pressure on himself, it leads to some of those sack fumbles or him being a little careless with the football.
Alrighty. Any other thoughts about USC's offense? I know we could talk about this game in particular for a while, but just wanting your final thoughts here.
Yeah, last couple notes, and I'll be brief. Just one is we have to continue to run the football better. To have over 300 yards passing and only 70 yards on the ground, unacceptable. And the game was close. It wasn't like it was out of hand. In the second half, it did, but at halftime, only down, I think, 8 or 7 points there going into half, which it felt like a lot more, so I'll take that, but would like to see a little bit more production on the ground game, something we've talked about this year, but can't just have 73 yards on the ground rushing. It's too hard to play complementary football that way. Another thing for me is we have to be better on early down and distances, right? Some of our third downs the other night, 3rd and 9. 3rd and 14, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 21, then got a penalty, change it to 3rd and 16, and a 3rd and 8. That's not how you win football games, but we did play well, 50% on 3rd down, 6 of 12. I'll take that. That's a win, but we can help ourselves by being better on 1st and 2nd down, eliminating some of those negative plays. And then the last couple side notes I have, Taj Washington, got to give him his flowers, playing amazing football right now. He's the best playmaker we have on offense. He's playing great football. And then overall, I'd like to see maybe a little bit more love for Kyron Hudson. I know this is kind of out of left field a little bit, but it seems like every time you got that deep ball against Cal, made an amazing over-the-shoulder catch, had an opportunity against Oregon, was out of bounds, but still made a spectacular catch. Now, Brendan Rice, Taj Washington playing well in the receiver core. You throw Zachariah Branch in there as well. But I'd like to see a little bit more opportunities this week for Kyron Hudson, but whatever happens, we're going up against a great defense. But I'm excited for this week. I think it's going to be some good football, and it's going to take this offense's A game to get back on track and really get after this UCLA defense.
Yeah, we definitely need to get into the meat and potatoes of the preview podcast. Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. Performance is more exhilarating on a real road. Introducing the Audi Q5. Visit your SoCal Audi dealers, proud sponsors of the USC Trojans. And at Ralph's, everyone wins when it comes to saving big, because when you order online through the Ralph's app, you get the same great prices, deals, and rewards on pickup or delivery that you do in store. So no matter how you shop, you always save big at Ralph's. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Fight on.
Fight on.
Alrighty, Cody, I'm excited to get into this one. It's UCLA, USC. I know you love starting with the coaches, and we know the head coach for UCLA pretty well at this point. 6th season for him, but take it away, Cody. I'm going into it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Head coach is Chip Kelly, like you just mentioned, 6th season here at UCLA. This season, UCLA is 6-4 and 3-4 in Pac-12 play. Ton of coaching experience for Chip Kelly at both the NFL and college level, regarded as one of the great offensive minds in football. Really developed that title when he was at Oregon, when he had those explosive offenses, really got into that West Coast spread type. But recent coaching history for him from 2007 to 2012 was at Oregon, was the offensive coordinator, then got promoted to head coach. From 2013 to 2015 was the Eagles head coach, and then for 2016 for a season was the head coach at the 49ers before coming here to UCLA. Now, there is no offensive coordinator listed on this coaching staff. They do have a pass game coordinator in Brian Norwood, but I don't know how much that title really helps. But in my opinion, Chip Kelly calls the entire offense.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Lincoln Riley here at USC.
Wow, that was just in sync there. Yeah.
Now, the defensive coordinator, very well respected, and a fresh face as a defensive coordinator, Danton Lynn. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because his dad is one of the most respected coaches in the NFL, Anthony Lynn, who's bounced around all over, has been a coach for a very long time. But this is Lynn's first season as defensive coordinator at UCLA, has only been coaching since 2014 as well. So a newer coach. He's only 34 years old, one of these younger coaches, and that feels like that's what the trend really is in coaching nowadays. Now,
Yeah.
I know there's some great football minds that have been coaching for a long time, but you see a lot of these younger coaches getting these coordinator positions that we're not so used to. But recent coaching history, not a ton. 2020, he was a secondary coach for the Texans, and from 2021 to 2022, he was a safeties coach with the Baltimore Ravens. And before that, it was just GA jobs, assistant secondary jobs. So he had 2 years or 3 years of position jobs, and now gets his first time defensive coordinating job here at UCLA. And it's only had 2 full-time positions before that, but he is off to a great start, and this is a very, very good UCLA defense.
See, if I didn't know the stats about this UCLA defense, I would look at his coaching history and say he has to be someone that everyone knows is on his A game if he's only been a position coach for a couple of years before jumping into a DC role at the college level.
Yeah, well, Chip Kelly talked about talking with Bill O'Brien when he was at the Texans and how highly he spoke of Coach Lynn, and then talking to John Harbaugh with the Ravens and saying, hey, you need to check this guy out and really look into him. He's doing a great job, gets the most out of our players. And then Chip Kelly pulled the trigger and hired him as a defensive coordinator. And obviously, it's not like he's out of nowhere. His dad is who he is, so that had a lot of help in that. And he's learned a lot of football knowledge from his father, and being, I'm sure, a coach's kid, you're always around the program and you're always around your dad when he's doing his meetings and learning from him. But again, only 2 position jobs, and then gets a DC job in college, and absolutely has earned his right to continue that position. And he's going to be someone that is going to have a great coaching career going forward.
What's interesting about this UCLA team this season is that I feel like it's flip-flopped on what we are used to on both sides of the ball.
Absolutely.
As far as this UCLA offense, what have we seen this season?
Yeah, and to your point, that's been the story of Chip Kelly at UCLA, right? You have these high explosive offenses with DTRs, Charbonnet, Bobo, guys from the past. Your defense is just lacking. This year it's been flip-flopped, and that starts with the stats. Offensively, points per game, only 26, which is 70th in college football. 430 yards per game, which is 34th in college football. 228 passing yards per game, 61st. Where they've really excelled, though, is on the ground. 202 yards per game, which is 13th in the country. And then third down, they've been right around average at 42%, and fourth down, they're at 40%.
Now, when it comes to their key players, this is just from the outside. I don't know what to make of their quarterback situation, and I know you've done your research, Cody. Do you know what to make of their quarterback situation?
Yeah, I really don't. Now, obviously, it's been kind of 3 guys that have rotated. Dante Moore, the true freshman, and then Ethan Garbers, who started out the season. And then last week we saw Colin Schlee. Now, there's been some injuries, guys rotating around. We saw Garbers got hurt against Arizona. Then Moore came in, and it's tough again in college. This is me complaining and almost pleading. Let's get an injury report in college like we do the NFL for us in the broadcasting business, so we can understand who's going to play.
Big Ten has floated that out there.
Great. I would love that. That would make our lives a lot easier. But all 3, Dante Moore, again, true freshman, 6'3", 210 freshman, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year. He is going to have a bright future, in my opinion. He just is making a lot of freshman mistakes this year, turning the ball over, a couple pick sixes that have hurt them in games that did not need to happen. When you have a great defense, you just need to be almost like a game management type of quarterback, to where you're just putting yourself in a position to win, but you're not hurting yourselves. And that's something Moore is done. But he's a freshman. He's going to learn. He'll get better. The other guy is Ethan Garbers. Kind of the same issue with him. He's a 6'3", 210-pound junior, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the year. And then the most interesting one of all of them is the quarterback that played last week against Arizona State, Colin Schlee, 6'3", 225-pound junior. Now, he can throw the football a little bit, only 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but he is third on the team on the ground and running the football. He is your typical triple option zone read type of quarterback. And Chip Kelly, again, being a West Coast spread offense, that's what they did last week against Arizona State. It was crazy. They had 22 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, 22 pony, as we call it. So both running backs back there.
Fun name.
And they were it's like pony, Bronco.
Yeah, I know.
Somewhere in the horse family.
Okay.
Because when you just say 22, that means a running back and a fullback. When you say 22 pony or 22 Bronco, that means 2 running backs and now 2 tight ends as well. And those 2 running backs, they have a great 1-2 combo. That's running back Carson Steele, 6'1", 225 pounds, 745 yards on the year, 6 touchdowns. Also has 120 yards through the air and receiving with 1 touchdown as well. And then the other running back they have is TJ Harden, 6'2", 215-pound sophomore, 533 yards and 5 touchdowns. And the receivers they like to get the ball to, the first one, their go-to guy is Logan Loya. He's a senior, 502 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then the other one is J. Michael Sturdivant, 6'3", 205-pound sophomore, 428 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then the tight end to look out for is Malachi Matalvo. I hope I said that right. 6'6",
Okay.
260-pound sophomore, has 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, my red dot guys this week are going to be both running backs Steele and Harden. And then when they do throw the football, it is Loya, their wide receiver.
Now, when it comes to what this offense does well, if they're 13th in the nation in total rushing yards, they at least get it done on the ground, right?
They are going to run the football. That is going to be their strategy this week. Now, it changes depending on who the quarterback is. If Moore or Garbers are in there, you're going to see more of a typical West Coast spread Chip Kelly offense. Now, he still likes to be balanced. Don't get me wrong. They're not going out there throwing the ball 60 times a game with Moore or Garbers, but they have had struggles at the quarterback position with all three of these guys throwing the football. So their production has been on the ground. But if you do see Schlee in there, I'm telling you, go watch the ASU, go watch the Arizona tape, look at the offense that they run, then go watch the ASU tape with Schlee in there. It is full on. It's not wing T, but it's full on zone read, triple option, pulling guys left and right. 3 options for Schlee to either, like I said, he can hand it off, he can pull it, and then he has an option pitch with the guy coming around. That's why they were doing the 2-back look, so he had multiple options in the run game. And ASU played well against him, but they struggled a little bit. They did have some explosive plays on the ground, but I would expect this week them to run the football. I think last week against ASU, it was something like 47 rushes or 37 rushes and only 20 pass attempts. So
Wow.
It was almost double running the football, and that's something I would expect again this week as well.
Now, we've got this question from other people, so I'm not the only one contributing to this question. But if you're USC's defense, how do you prepare for this offense when we don't even fully know what type of offense quarterbacks they're going to face?
Yeah, that's the toughest part, is because it's not like all three are prototypical pocket passers, right? Moore and Garbers are sit-back pocket passers. Little to no rushing stats on the year for both of those guys, but then you look at Schlee, he's 3rd on the team with 320 yards rushing. We've seen him a little bit throughout the year, not as a quarterback to come in and throw the football, but they'll bring him in at times to run these zone option types of plays, and he likes to take off and run. And it's not like he has a terrible arm. He has a strong arm. He just struggles with accuracy and decision-making, right? Only 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. But overall, it's going to be huge this week for us to stop the run. That's where we have to focus. We have to focus on Steele. We have to focus on Harden. We have to take those guys out of the game plan. And UCLA's front 5, their offensive line struggles in pass protection. They'll give up a good amount of sacks. How they really counter that and be efficient is run the football. And it's kind of opposite to what we're used to seeing in a Chip Kelly offense, right? You're used to seeing the Nick Foles game in Philly where he threw 7 touchdowns, or Marcus Mariota throwing the football all over the field, and back in the Oregon days, it's really, or even DTR last year, right? They had a great balanced attack with Charbonnet and then throwing the football to Bobo and some of those other receivers, but they've really struggled at the quarterback position this year of establishing a dominant, balanced offense. So they've been heavy on the run game, and that's why they're top 15 in the country in that category. But it really feels like they're a quarterback away of being productive, but it's funny that you mentioned it. It's mixed now. Their defense is one of the top in the country, and their offense has fallen off, which you're not used to seeing under Chip Kelly.
So does this mean you can key on this offense, kind of try and aim for shutting down the run game?
Yeah, that's going to be, well, I'm hesitant to say that because I said that against Washington, right? Number 1 pass offense in the entire country. Stop the pass game, make them one-dimensional. They come out and run for 320 yards. So for our defense, I don't want to say, hey, let's just key on the run game. But yes, you have to take that away. You have to limit their big-time explosive plays on the ground. You have to be great in communication this week. It's going to be so important for Coach Odom and Coach Nua to make sure they understand when Schlee is in there, if that's who the quarterback's going to be this week, when they do this triple option, you have to make sure all 11 guys, and that's every play, but more important when you see a lot of window dressing and motion, you have to make sure every guy's in the right spot. And this is going to be a big game for one guy has to take the dive, one guy has to take the quarterback, one guy has to take the pitch. You have one-on-one tackles all night long. You have to come up and make those tackles, and if we don't, they're going to have explosive plays on the ground all night long.
Now, I know you've never been an interim co-defensive coordinator, Cody, but after the how this past game went and kind of knowing where the deficiencies were, what do you think that Odom and Nua will implement, having that first week under their belt?
Yeah, if I'm calling it this week, I'm loading the box. I am loading the box. I'm putting 6-7 guys in the box. We're going to have to play man, though. That's going to force us to play man on the edges, and I'm fine with that with any of the quarterbacks in there. Now, Moore, in my opinion, if he's in there, the true freshman has the best arm. Now, he was a 5-star recruit. Like I said, he's going to be a very good player. He does make a lot of freshman mistakes, but you see the arm talent when you watch some of those games. He came in against Coastal Carolina earlier in the season and had a couple wow throws, beating man-to-man, beating guys over the top. But this week going into it, there hasn't been enough efficient quarterback play to where I'm going to play a shell coverage all night long and try to help on the edges and really worry about that. I am loading the box. I'm bringing pressure all night long. I'm making the quarterbacks uncomfortable, and I'm trying to stop the run plays before they get started, before they have those opportunities to get things going and get the edge. We have to be physical, and that's going to start with the front four. I don't care who's out there, Bear Alexander, Keon Bars, Benton, whoever you want to put in that interior position, Jack Sullivan, they have to know that I'm going to pin my ears back, read my gaps still, don't just aimlessly rush through a hole and miss the play completely, but you have to create penetration and stop the run game before it gets started. That's going to be so important. So, yeah, that's my takeaway on it. Again, who knows? UCLA may come out and start throwing the football over the field. Kind of opposite what Washington did against us. But to start off the game, and then you can make those in-game adjustments. But to start the game off, focus on stopping the run, loading the box, and not let those plays get started before they go.
Okay, any other thoughts about UCLA's offense before we move on to defense?
Yeah, we talked a lot about the run, but when they do get to their pass game, it is your typical West Coast spread type of offense. What I mean by that is be ready for layered passing concepts, right? They're going to have a deep shot, they're going to have a medium, they're going to have an underneath. You just have to play all levels of the field. But if we play man-to-man, we have to be physical of them getting off the line of scrimmage. They don't have the biggest receivers. Our leading receiver, Logan Loya, 5'11", 185 pounds. Now, J. Michael Sturdivant, 6'3", 205. Not the biggest guy in the world, but we have to be physical if we play man-to-man, if we play tight to the line of scrimmage, and we're trusting our front seven or our almost 8 in the box to stop the run. We have to trust our guys on the outside to stop a spread West Coast type offense. But again, this could change depending on if it's Moore or Garbers as opposed to being Schlee out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Nua and Coach Odom go about game planning this week and what their in-game adjustments are going to be. But overall, this is an offense that's not highly explosive. You just have to be disciplined and do your job all night long, all 11 guys. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Odom and Coach Nua game plan this week when you have an opportunity to face multiple quarterbacks that do different things. But I'm excited to see this game plan, and I'm excited to see this Trojan defense on Saturday.
Now over to this UCLA defense. I'm very interested to get into this breakdown. And I know you are a stats person, Cody, but they're on borderline historic numbers for their program this season. So I might add in some flavor when you do your stats, Cody.
Please
but go
do.
for it.
But these stats are going to work hand in hand, and they'll back you up with what you just said. Points allowed on defense, 16 points a game, 9th in college football, 1st in the Pac-12.
Best since 1991 for UCLA.
Total yards allowed, 289 yards per game, 10th in college football, 1st in the Pac-12.
Best since 1998.
There you go. Total passing.
Excuse me. Sorry, 1988.
Oh, wow. Total passing yards allowed, 219 yards per game, 54th. Struggle a little bit there, but where they really excel is total rushing yards allowed is only 70 yards per game. That is not only 1st in the Pac-12, that is 1st in the entire country. In all of college football, they're 1st in the country by 8 yards per game. They are, and it doesn't sound like a lot, 8 yards per game, but when you add up over 10, 11 games over the year, and you see that big or that significant of a drop-off, they are playing very good football. 3rd down allowed, only 34%. That's a win. And then 4th down allowed, very good on 4th down, only allowing a 30% conversion rate.
So adding to that, their rush yards per game allowed it's trending to be their best stat ever in that category. And then sacks per game, 3.5 a game, which is 5th in FBS, and it's trending to be their best stat ever in that category.
Yeah, UCLA is 4th in the country in sacks with 36 a year. And in my opinion, we'll get into that next in these red dot guys. They have the best pass rushing combo in the Pac-12, maybe in the entire country.
Wow. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah,
key players, Cody.
Yeah, so the first one for me, this is their do-it-all guy on the defensive side of the ball, linebacker Darius Muasu, 6'1", 230-pound senior, my first red dot guy, 59 tackles, which leads the team, 4 sacks, 3 pass defense, and 1 interception. The other linebacker that plays well is linebacker Kane Madrano, 6'3", 230-pound senior. Now their best player on the defensive side of the ball. My biggest probably red dot guy of this game because he is a TJ Watt and Aaron Donald. I'm not putting him in that category, but that type of he can have that type of effect on a football game.
He's the definition of the red dot.
Yeah, and he will ruin your entire offensive scheme. Is their defensive end Latu Latu, 6'5", 265-pound senior, has 39 tackles, 11 sacks, which leads the team. That's also 4th in college football. He also has 2 forced fumbles, 2 pass defense. Does a great job jumping up, getting his hand on the football, and has 1 interception as well. Some of their players that are effective in the back end, safety Kenny Churchwell. He's 6'2", 205-pound senior. Cornerback Jalen Davies, probably one of their best cover corners on that side of the football. 6 foot, 180-pound sophomore, has 5 pass defense and 1 interception. And then my other, I didn't put red dot guy, but he could be, is the other combo to that pass rush outside of Law 2. Defensive end Gabriel Murphy, 6'3", 230-pound junior, 27 tackles, 6 sacks, and 1 pass defense. And then their best takeaway corner, he's their nickel defender, but they move their guys around a lot. You'll see their nickel go back to safety, their safety go back to nickel, the nickel will move to corner. They do a great job of rotating those 5 guys on the back end when they're in nickel coverage. Is Alex Johnson, 6'1", 190-pound senior, 24 tackles, and he leads the team with 4 interceptions on the year.
So you just alluded to it, but I'm curious what this defense looks like, and I'm peeking at your notes here. I think you used the word funky like 3 times.
Keely, it is, yeah, and what I mean by that is, so when I said that is the front, right? The front, and they do a little bit with the coverage as well, but it is a 4-down defense, right? And I reluctant to put down. That's just the meaning. They hate having their guys with their hand in the dirt, right? They will have maybe 1 defensive lineman, interior lineman with his hand in the dirt, the other 3 standing up. Then against ASU, they had a 3rd down where it wasn't a radar. What I mean by radar is guys kind of standing up, moving around, but they had a radar type of look to it, to where they had 6 guys on the line of scrimmage and not 1 player had their hand on the ground. Okay. All 6 of them were moving around pre-snap, stood up, pinned their ears back. That's why they're 4th in the country in sacks. They trust their guys to cover on the back end, which they do. Very good at being physical in coverage. They're not afraid to play man-to-man, but where they really excel is that defensive line. It is phenomenal. And when I say funky, they'll do 3 to 1 side. I know I've explained it before, but when you really watch the film, I look at it because as a quarterback, where you always start with is the front, right? You go, is it an over front, an under front? Over means a strength front where they're shifted more to the strength. Under front means the 3 techniques more to the weak side. Bear front is a 5 down, so I'm not going to bore everybody with all that. But it was hard for me to watch the film, and I'm looking and pausing, and I'm like, is this an under? Is this an over? Is this a over G, a 2I? What techniques are they using? What front is this? And they do such a great job of confusing you, and that is a pain in the butt for a center and a quarterback, not only in protection, but also in run game schemes. Are we going to center guard combo this? Are we going to guard tackle? What front are they doing? And they stand up, move around. That's why I said funky so many times. But the biggest thing this week is going to be communication. This is the most important game where Caleb and Dedich have to, every single play, run or pass, I don't care what it is, even taking a knee, have to be on the same page because of the different looks that they'll show you up front.
Okay, wow. I'm absorbring all that.
It's a lot of fun to watch, and I hate saying that because
you hate this team.
I've held my tongue a little bit. I'm not gonna, it's a preview episode. We're being professional. You gotta remember though, I'm a SC quarterback, so I bleed cardinal and gold. I cannot stand the color blue. We don't wear it in my house, not even during this week. The whole year round, blue is not allowed in our house. Yeah, Coach O. But I've got to give them their credit on the defensive side of the ball. Historic year, and Coach Lynn has these guys playing very, very good football. So, given what we've seen from this USC offense, also, can I just say, I hate podcasting this week because the UCLA USC, my brain auto-fills in USC, so apologies if that happens going forward. Yeah. Your USC's offense, how do you approach this? Yeah, I mean, it's goes back to our notes in the Oregon game. It goes back to our last 5 games, right? You want to be balanced, but you're going up against a #1 run defense in the country. Now, we went up against Utah, who I think at the time was like number 1 or 2, in run defense, and we started running the ball very well. So I would love to see us come out and establish the run game early to take that pressure off of Caleb Williams and the skill players. But at the same time, if you try to start out establishing the run game and you're getting 1-2 yard negative yards a pop, it's tough to stick to that, right? So Lincoln Riley's going to think, as an offensive coordinator, any offensive coordinator, you don't want to abandon it, but you're going to think, hey, this is the #1 run defense in the country for good reason. Let's go to the pass. So I would expect to see a lot of Caleb Williams this week, right? Rightfully so. It's the last game of the year. You're going up against your rival in UCLA. He was the hero last year at the Rose Bowl. Let's let him build off of that. And he played well against Oregon last week. He's getting back to his normal self, right? Still, the completion percentage would like to see a little bit better, but I'd love to see Caleb Williams go around and kind of pick this defense apart on Saturday night or Saturday morning, I guess. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that, by the way. 12:30 kick. Trojan tailgate starts at 10:30 a.m. So just grab your coffee. Yeah, if you want to be up bright and early and you're tailgating. If you're USC, do you just go quick game too? You got to get the ball out of your hands. You got to be able to. But that's where it works hand in hand, right? You want to go quick game, but UCLA's not afraid. They will crowd the line of scrimmage with their secondary. They don't play. And now, don't get me wrong. They do a great job of mixing up, and that's why I said funky as well. For coverage, they'll do a great job of showing one high safety, inverting, bringing him down, letting the corners play over the top, linebackers play underneath. They do a lot of invert coverage, which where you see a safety at, a corner will go play, and they'll bring safeties down. So they do a good job of mixing that up. But anytime, even in passing situations, Coach Lynn is not afraid to play man-to-man, to play tighter to the box, not have a lot of help over the top, and trust that their guys are going to cover, which they do a good job of. Their secondary, we've talked so much about the front seven. They have a very good secondary, a lot of contested catches, a lot of tip footballs, a lot of pass defense where they get the hand on the football, and a lot of takeaways in their secondary, and they do a great job of putting guys in positions to win. That's why I mentioned they'll put a nickel on a guy they need to match up this week out at corner, or they might move a corner into nickel. They'll put a safety down in the box or take a nickel defender and play him at safety, or they do dime, nickel, different packages, and they do such a great job of, okay, what's our best matchup on the field, and let's do that all night long, right? If we have a taller receiver, we're going to go put a taller cover corner that's more physical on Brendan Rice. If we have a quicker guy like Zachariah Branch or Taj Washington, they do a great job of playing their nickel defenders on them, and whoever's being successful in the game covering that, they'll stick to it, right? So they're very good at putting guys in position to win, but they're also very good at the guys going out there and winning.
Which I just feel like, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer here, but I feel like this could be a frustrating night on offense if you're USC, just because if you can't get it going in the run game, which is kind of your cushion there, and you have this pressure that's going to come at you, this could get it seems.
So you could say it. It could be a long night.
It could be a long night.
Yeah,
yes.
That's the best way to say it. Yes, it could be. It very well could be. But again, we still have, in my opinion, Caleb Williams. We have a secret weapon. We have the best quarterback in the entire country on our team, a guy that gives us a chance to win every single week, right? And that's something, going back to that, and this is going to be my little, I'm not going to get on the Heisman talk this year. I do think it's disrespectful that he hasn't gotten the attention he's got, but I think he's held to a higher standard because he already is a one-time Heisman Trophy winner, but he leads the country in touchdowns. I think he leads the Pac-12 also in rushing touchdowns, by the way, which is unheard of. I don't know if Jordan Moore tweeted about that as well.
I actually got the answer to that, so while you do, keep your rant.
Okay, yeah, but he's... this is just me talking about Caleb real quick because and that was a fair question, right? Could it be a long night? Yes, absolutely. It could be a frustrating night. This offense has struggled a little bit over the second half of the season, only 379 yards against Oregon, right? Under 400 yards with a Lincoln Riley offense is unheard of, only 27 points as well. So yes, we've seen some struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but again, don't forget, we do have Caleb Williams. Put some respect on his name. He's the best quarterback in all of college football. He does more for his team, I feel like, than anyone else does on the offensive side of the ball in the country, and he always gives us a chance to win. So that's my answer to that. And obviously we've got great skill players. Not to take away from that. Marshawn Lloyd's playing very good football. Austin Jones is a great 1-2 punch. We have some great playmakers on the outside. Brendan Rice really came on strong at the end of the Oregon game, showed how physical he can be. That was a great back shoulder catch on fourth down in the second half, or I think the fourth quarter there. And then we saw Taj Washington, in my opinion, who's the best receiver we have right now, who's a great playmaker. So we can find ways to get guys involved. And also, we have Lincoln Riley, one of the best play callers in all of college football as well. So I'm not too worried about it, but this will be the toughest defense we face this year. And it feels like I'm saying that week in and week out.
Right, yeah.
It feels like I said it against Notre Dame. Then I came back and said it against Utah. Then I said it again against Oregon. And now we're playing UCLA. So this was why in the preseason too, I was so worried about this 6-game stretch
100%.
And how tough it was going to be because, yes, we aren't where we want to be. We're 7-4 right now, but we are playing tough competition week in and week out, and teams that have great offenses and very good defenses as well. So we're going back and forth, but overall, I mean, I expect us to still go out there, be dominant on offense, just go face it head on, right? Don't shy away from competition. You love iron sharpens iron, and also it's the freaking UCLA Bruins. I'm ad-libbing here. I'm being a little more, I don't want to cuss, but that's how much my blood gets boiling going against these guys. So you should have all the motivation in the world to go out there and want to drop 50 on these guys and hold them on the offensive side of the ball as well.
There's so many points that you just made that I want to go off in different tangents in. One of them is just talking about the strength of the Pac-12 or just how close these games have been. Bill Connolly of ESPN listed how many the percentage of conference games decided by one score in 2023. The Pac-12 leads the nation with 47% of the games decided by 1 point.
I thought that was going to be like a 20% stat right there. Wow.
Basically half of the games.
Well, that just goes to show you, too, that the Pac-12, what do you always say, how we hurt ourselves? And
the cannibalism.
Yeah, it's just so many times you see like promising teams, and then they end up losing like a close game here and there. But yeah, no, that's a crazy stat.
And to your second point, Jordan Moore, who's my boss but also broadcasts here at USC, he had tweeted earlier in the week, Caleb Williams is tied for the Pac-12 lead in passing touchdowns with 29. He's also tied for the conference lead in rushing touchdowns with 11 among all players, not just quarterbacks. He said, has anyone ever done that before? And so just a shout out to the Pac-12 statisticians. They are amazing.
Yeah.
And one of them saw it on Twitter and was like, I'll get to it. And so he emailed all of us. And so there's only 3 other people who've done that before, Cody.
In the Pac-12 or?
In FBS.
Okay. Can I guess?
Sure. Trivia at
Are
home.
there? So my first guess would be Jake Locker from Washington.
TBT, no.
No?
It's not Pac-12.
There's no Pac-12
So he's
players.
the only person who's done it in the Pac-12.
Okay, so this is in the entire country who's led the conference.
I believe for the last 20 years at least, there's only 3 other people who've done it.
Lamar Jackson?
No.
I'm trying to think of Heisman winners who are also great dual threat quarterbacks. How recent? Give me some recent.
There's someone who's doing it right now as well in their conference.
Oh.
And then there's someone who did it in 2013 and someone who did it in 2012.
Okay, 2013. That was when that was my first year starting. Was it Mariota? Oh, no, it wasn't Pac-12. Manziel.
No. Bryce Petty?
Bryce? Oh, Bryce, you're terrible if you're listening to this. He's one of my closest friends.
Really?
Don't give Bryce a shot. No, I'm just kidding. I love Bryce. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, when he was at Baylor, love Bryce.
Passing
awesome
touchdowns,
guy.
32. First and rushing touchdowns, 14.
Wow, we had 14 rushing touchdowns. Bryce, I apologize. I didn't know your game, man.
Wow.
I didn't know he ran like that. Okay, so
2012.
Bryce Petty. Who was next?
Do you want to do 2012?
2012. Have I said any of the names? Oh, no,
No.
because you would have said yeah.
It's a Maction, if that helps you.
Maction.
Have you ever heard that?
Is that the Mac?
Yeah. They call it Maction.
2012 in the Mac. I don't know. I'm not.
Jordan Lynch.
Okay, yeah.
First in passing touchdowns with 25, tied for first rushing touchdowns with 19.
Yeah. I think he was a Heisman finalist that year, maybe? Or top 10 at least. Okay, continue.
And then the last one, I believe he's doing it
Who's doing it right now?
Yes.
People are probably yelling at me on this.
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay, give me a conference.
Conference USA.
Okay, who is it? I'm not going to get that.
Caden Salter.
Okay, what school is that?
Liberty.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Liberty's got a good team this year, yeah.
Passing touchdowns 26, tied for first, and rushing touchdowns with 9.
That's crazy that it's only happened 3 times ever. Well, I guess since how offenses are changing now, you can kind of see how
That's a
it's
good
getting
point.
to that. But what a cool way. Shout out to the Pac-12 too for getting that
Right?
done and
Shouts
getting
to
those stats
Greg.
over.
We appreciate you,
I'm
Greg.
going to text Bryce after this episode. That's hilarious. I had
You
no
were
idea.
like genuinely surprised.
Well, I mean, he was one of the greatest quarterbacks in college during his time when he was at Baylor and phenomenal. Could throw the football over the field, but then I didn't know he ran like that. I knew he could run, but I didn't know it was like that. But no, I've known Bryce for a long time. We spent some time together at the Manning camp and then kept our friendship up throughout the years.
Fun.
But yeah, wow, shout out Bryce.
Yeah, alrighty.
I'll shoot him a text, tell him he was on the podcast episode.
That's fun. Well, now that we have that tangent fun fact trivia section out of the way there, Cody, any other final thoughts about USC's offense going against this historic UCLA defense?
I know we got a little sidetracked. That was fun though. I like those little fun facts. We need to do some more trivia in the offseason. But no, just overall, that's a very, very good defense. Very good front seven. Great pass rush. Do a great job getting after the quarterback. Very good gap discipline in the run game. Great job of reading, reacting, physical. This is going to be a huge game for us to be physical. And they also do a great job of coverage on the back end, right? A lot of contested catches. They do a great job getting their hand on the football in the pass game. So the most important things, again, Caleb Williams got to be Superman this week. Have to, if we can, establish the run. But most importantly, we have to create separation in the pass game to eliminate some of those sacks and allow Caleb to get the ball out of his hands.
Well, on that note, Cody, it's time to get into the USC Pharmacy prescription to win keys to the game for USC against UCLA. First up, be great in pass protection.
Yeah, UCLA has 36 sacks on the year, which is 4th in college football, and they possibly have the best rush combo in football right now in Latu and Murphy. They like to stand up not only their defensive ends, but their interior linemen as well. They pin their ears back, and they get after the quarterback. We need to be great in communication this week and protection between Justin Dedich and Caleb Williams, but we also need to create some separation at the wide receiver position so Caleb can get the ball out of his hands and not take some of those unnecessary hits.
Second key to the game, limit UCLA's production in the run game.
Yeah, UCLA is averaging 200 yards a game right now on the ground, which is 13th in college football. And although this is Chip Kelly's West Coast spread type of offense, and we're used to seeing them throw the football all over the field, they've had some struggles this year at the quarterback position, but they've done a great job of being efficient on the ground. They have a great 1-2 punch in the backfield with Steele and Harden, and when Schlee is in there at quarterback, he does a great job of being involved in the run game and using his legs to pick up some big plays.
And now the third and final key to the game is for USC as a whole, turn the page and finish strong. One last game in the Coliseum.
Yeah, let's turn the page, right? The past is the past. Let's put everything behind us. Nothing we can do about it now. And obviously this season didn't go exactly as we had hoped, but what better way to get back on track and build some momentum going into the offseason than beating UCLA here at home, winning the crosstown rivalry, keeping the victory bell here in South Central, and sending these seniors off with a W in the Coliseum.
Alrighty, well, we got to dive into questions. Before we do, just want to give thanks to Audi. What if there was a portal to the future? Enter the fully electric Audi Q4 e-tron with an advanced touchscreen infotainment system. Audi, the future awaits. Now, I normally don't do a tangent mid-ad read, but it was interesting, and you're not going to find it interesting, Cody, but I was driving literally yesterday, and I was like, what car is that? It ended up being an Audi e-tron, and I was like, the ad read just kept like...
Popped up in your head?
Yes, I was like, advanced touchscreen infotainment system.
Did you wave them down and tell them
about their own car? No.
Read them the ad read?
No, I did not, but
hey,
yeah.
I drive an Audi every time.
You're driven
coming
by
to the
Audi?
Yeah, I drive my wife's Audi. Got a bedazzled license plate and all, so I'm
you're stunting.
Yeah, that's my little guilty pleasure driving that thing around. I'm a truck guy, always have been, always will be. Because, though, it's tough to fit a big F-250 truck on campus here at USC. So if anybody in the higher-ups hears that, let's build some bigger parking structures so I can bring my truck. But, hey, I like driving the Audi around.
So if anyone keeping score at home, Cody wants the all-22 and a bigger parking spot for his
my truck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, off-season goals. We got them.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, we also need to thank Symbiotica. Take your health to the next level with Symbiotica. Their premium, easy-to-take supplements fuel your body with key vitamins and minerals, Cody, to help you reach peak performance on and off the field. Elevate your health today by going to Symbiotica.com and use code FIGHTON for 15% off site-wide.
Fight on.
There you go. Jumping into questions, Cody, first one is from Lewis, who said, how important is it to win this week to help with momentum for next year? And he didn't even hear your keys to the game, Cody, so you guys are on the same page there.
Yeah, no, Lewis, it's very important, right? And that's what I was just saying, right? Let's turn the page, put everything behind us. We can't do anything about that now, right? Control what you can control. And what we control this week is an opportunity to go out and end the season on the right note against our rival in UCLA, win the crosstown rivalry, keep the victory bell here at home, and also send these seniors out on the right note, allow them to get the win in the Coliseum for their last ever home game. But more importantly, and this has always kind of been a battle, and both teams are still going to the Big Ten next year and recruiting in the same area. There's going to be a lot of recruits at this game. There's going to be a lot of local kids watching this football game, so that'll give us a lot of momentum, not only as a team, but in recruiting as well going into next season.
And something we haven't mentioned yet either is that this is USC's final Pac-12 game.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Oh, well, I was going to say everybody, but no, we had the week 0 game.
Yeah. So this is USC's final.
So we're going to have a week of watching football next week with still games going on, huh?
Turkey and football.
There you go, yeah.
Isn't that fun?
That's going to be crazy, too, not having a Thanksgiving football week.
Yeah.
For me, obviously, I haven't played in 3 years, but overall, I've even doing broadcasting now, I don't think I've ever gone where I'm not involved with football the week of Thanksgiving.
Well, my family's asking me what's happening, and they assume that I'm not available. And I'm like, wait, I actually have way more time than usual.
By the way.
Yeah. I'm combining the next two questions because they're similar topics.
Okay.
Joe said, what's the key to giving Caleb enough time against UCLA's front seven? He said, I suspect leaning on the run game is a huge one to open up the passing lanes for Caleb. And then Rama said, what does the offensive line need to do to give Caleb more time?
Yeah, Joe, it's going to be tough too, and Rama, but with opening up the pass game by using the run game because we're going against the best run defense in all of college football. So it's going to be tough to play complementary football this week. We're going to have to try early to establish that, but it just depends on what it's looking like. If it's a couple tackles for loss, if we're not getting big production on first and second down in the run game, I would expect for this to be a very pass-heavy game, but that works hand in hand, right? It's something I talked about after the Oregon game. Have to win one-on-ones up front, right? It's going to be so important this week for Kingston and Jonah Monheim on the edge, right? You're going up against two of the best pass rushers in the Pac-12. Latu has fourth in the country in sacks right now, so a very good pass rush. But the other part of that is Caleb knowing when to get rid of the football and knowing when to, throw the football away, go down, not take some unnecessary hits. And then the third part of that is you have to create separation at the wide receiver position. It's tough to throw the football when no one's getting open. So it's going to be a lot of moving parts in that combination, but we have to be able to do it, not only to protect our quarterback, but to be efficient on the offensive side of the ball throwing it.
Josh said, how much is USC going to miss Taj Washington next season?
How much is Cody Kessler going to miss Taj Washington next season? I'm serious. He's kind of in that Travis Dye category for me from a year ago.
Wow.
I've been so high on Taj since last year.
Yeah.
When Jordan Addison went down, when Mario Williams went down, and Taj really stepped up. He's been the unsung hero of this football team for the last 2 years. So reliable. That's a great word to use. Just Mr. Consistent. Not a lot of drop passes. Not a lot of times you see him making a mistake. All over the field, makes those big-time plays when you need them and big-time scenarios as well. I think this team's going to miss him tremendously. He's someone that's very tough to replace. He was also so much fun to watch, too, because he started out, you're so used to seeing him in the slot, right? Kind of a smaller guy playing in the slot, but then we put him outside. Then we move him around. Lincoln Riley would find ways to get him more involved in the offense and find mismatches on the defensive side of the ball to really let Taj excel. And it's been so much fun to watch. So it's going to be tough. You can't replace him, but it's going to be someone that you're going to have to try to find. It's the next man up mentality, right? It's time for Deuce Robinsons and the Jacoby Lanes and Mekhi Lemons, those younger guys, Zachariah Branch, to start filling these roles of these older guys that are going to be heading out after this season.
Every year that he's been at USC, he's finished as the at least top two leading receiver.
That's what I'm saying. And last year, and rightfully so, Jordan Addison, again, and shout out to Jordan, too. He's playing tremendous football right now in the NFL as well. Mario Williams last year was playing very well. Played well this year, had some ups and downs, consistency issues. But Taj Washington, again, Mr. Reliable. He's been so consistent. I don't think he's got his flowers as he deserves. So I'm giving them to him now, and I'm going to miss him tremendously. I know this football team and coaching staff will as well.
Manny said, can we expect to see more than one quarterback on Saturday? How does our defense prepare for that?
Yeah, Manny, this is where I'm frustrated again because they don't have injury reports in college football. So I have no idea who the starter is going to be. But to your point, yeah, I mean, last week Garbers was warming up on the field against ASU. I'm assuming it was kind of a game time decision type of scenario, but then they ended up going with Schlee for the entire game. But this week, you got to remember, too, both teams really have nothing to lose. So I wouldn't be surprised with Chip Kelly being the great offensive mind he is, maybe using Garbers or more in there for passing situations and then bringing Schlee in for some of that triple option because they did have some success last week against Arizona State running that 22 pony personnel, the triple option type play, zone reads, allowing Schlee to use his legs and pick up some big-time yards on the ground. They had some success against ASU doing that, and Schlee's also the third leading rusher on this football team, and they've seen him before in the season going out there and running the football. So could we see a couple different packages? Could that create some problems for Odom and Nua having to prepare for both? I'm sure they already are, not knowing who the starter is going to be. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised to see multiple quarterbacks this week, or they say, hey, let's go with the future, put their freshman out there if he's healthy, put him out there and let him go and let him get some more experience going forward.
Bo said, do you think that they can simplify the defense so they can fly to the ball quicker? And this is an interesting thing that Nua talked about on Tuesday. He was like, there's only so much you can simplify until you're creating problems on the other side of things.
Yeah, and working kind of hand in hand with what Nua just said, you don't just really pick a defense and go with it. You have to game plan against your opponent, right? So you can't just, you can simplify it by condensing the playbook. For example, when I was here at USC under Coach Sark, when we played teams week in and week out, we knew what their MO was on the defensive side of the ball. For example, Arizona State. We knew we were going to get quarters coverage. We knew that they weren't going to play a lot of one high, and we knew that they would mix up some man-to-man on third down. So we would go into the game a ton of quarters beater plays, and then we'd mix in some man-to-man crosser routes on third down and take out a lot of those one high beaters, take out a lot of those cover two beaters because we knew what they were going to do majority of the game. So that's how you can simplify it. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to game plan against your opponent. But I wouldn't mind a condensed playbook as much as you can, to Nua's point, this week, and allow guys to say, hey, you have one job on this player. This is your responsibility. You are going to see some different formations from UCLA, so there will be some pre-snap checks and different things like that. But let's take out the confusion and the waving and, hey, what's the play call? Let's call the play early. We know that UCLA is going to want to go fast. We know what their MO is going to be depending on what quarterback's in there. Let's get a couple play calls here and there, condense the playbook on situations and different down and distances, and let the guys go out and play fast.
I'm going to combine these next two questions. LG said, how's the team spirit this week? Are there any locker room issues? And PC fan said, please discuss the current state of team chemistry. Now, I feel like, and you can tell me this, Cody, because you obviously know better than I do, but anytime there's a coaching change, I feel like there's tension and there's things that it's not going the way you want it to, obviously. So like humans in any environment, there's going to be some butting heads. There's going to be, it's not going to be hunky dory, if you will.
Yeah, no,
but
absolutely.
I'm sure you can speak to this more than I can.
Yeah, and I've been a part of coaching changes. There's no secret about that. And it's the most frustrating part for me, and I go back kind of to my senior year, was when we started the season out, ranked 6th in the country, all these high expectations, all these high hopes. Now, obviously, we had some external factors with our head coach that happened throughout the year, and then we had a coaching change, and then we had some injuries, some other things happen that was frustrating, that are outside of your control, that it's easy to kind of put a pin in the season and say, hey, you know what, whatever, I'm going to check out, I'm going to worry about next year. Or even nowadays, guys, I'm going to transfer, I'm going to look elsewhere, I'm going to do, like, it can feel like the sky is falling. It's very easy for that to happen, but what it goes back to is the culture of this program right now, and that's under Lincoln Riley, that's under the captains on this football team, the leadership of this football team. That's what's going to be most important this week, of keeping the locker room together, especially going against UCLA. You get to go against your rival at home, crosstown rivalry. I mean, just everything you want to end the season on a high note is there for the taking. It's just going to come down to how important, or how these guys lean on one another in the locker room, and how this coaching staff works with the players. And we're going to see some changes, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball. We saw it last week in personnel, and maybe a little different scheme, but it's not going to be night and day from when Coach Grinch was here a week or a week and a half ago. So you have to be able to understand that this product you're going to see Saturday is probably going to be completely different after this offseason, but it's so important to one of the earlier questions we got: momentum, the culture, everything that's important. Recruits still watching. Hey, is this team going to fall apart now because they lost one coach, or is this team going to come together, rally together under Lincoln Riley, and build a strong culture and a strong foundation, getting ready to go into 2024 and next season?
And to your point about recruiting, it's fascinating how everything is an advertisement in that sense. If you're a recruit from the outside, or you're a guy thinking to go in the transfer portal, you're kind of looking over like, what are the vibes over there, you know? And if it looks bad, you're kind of like, it's everything is for the future in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. And the most important part to that point is the head coach is going to say all the right stuff, right? Or not all the right stuff, but he's going to say what he is as a leader, right? You can learn a lot from that, not only from in the media, but from those at-home visits, from recruiting-wise, I'm talking about all of that. But who you need to pay attention to is the players. The players will speak to you. The Caleb Williams of the world, the Mason Cobbs of the world, the guys that are the leaders on this football team, they'll really let you know what the vibes are like, or what's happening in the locker room. And you see Caleb week in and week out. This season is nowhere near the expectations he's wanted, right? We've seen him be emotional. We've seen him be frustrated. We've seen all these things, but he's out there week in and week out, facing the media, talking about how proud he is of his guys, how much better we're going to get. Mason Cobb, right? Going back to Mason, even though he made one of the comments about not watching film, or that, don't look into that. Don't read into that too much. Now, I don't know if I fully agree with that. Obviously, I'd love for our guys watching film and learning, but I think the deeper message he was trying to portray there, and he just didn't do it in the perfect way, was that, hey, we're a football team that's not going to dwell on the past. We're going to turn the page. We're going to rely on the guys around us. We're going to stay positive. This isn't just the last 11 weeks, right? This has been since last offseason started, since spring when the early guys got here, since fall when we went through those fall camp practices where it's blood, sweat, and tears day in and day out, and you mentally check out and don't want to be there. We leaned on our brothers to get through those tough times, so we're going to learn from that, lean on each other now, and really build a strong foundation for this USC football team going forward, because 2024, in my opinion, a big part of that is how you finish the season, but also is going to be probably one of the biggest football years in recent history that I can remember for USC football, and the importance of it going into Lincoln Riley's third year, hiring a new defensive coordinator, changing into a new conference. These players that are here right now are going to build that foundation going forward.
Yeah, that's a good point. In that sense, sort of, G said, what is the takeaway towards the end of the season? Is this a wash year, total disappointment? What is the middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad G said that last part, the middle ground. I think that's the most important part of that question, because there are things that you want to look at as a wash year, right? And what I mean by that is, were expectations met? No, nowhere near where Lincoln Riley and this staff and this football team wanted to be this year, but you can't just... And I know we've said turn the page, but you can't just ignore all of that, right? You have to learn from past mistakes so history doesn't repeat itself, so you don't make the same mistakes going forward. So yes, in the sense of wash year, put everything behind us, let's not worry about it. It was a disappointing season. Let's move on. Yes, but you also have to be able to learn from that and not make the same mistakes next season. And I know we're getting a little ahead, but I'm so excited for the off-season episodes because, and again, if you love USC football, please continue to listen, because we're going to get into, and I can't wait, we've already talked about all this, but where we need to go, what needs to happen, the changes that need to be made, personnel groupings, all these different things. We're going to do a full kind of look back on this season and moving forward, and how we're going to, how we're going to be more productive next year, and take this program to the next level. But overall this year, you've got to, again, turn the page, block everything out, focus on this last game, and continue to build a positive going into the offseason.
You touched on it, and I'm just going to add on it. William said, what will happen during the offseason? Will you guys continue to cover other SC sports? Cody, you and I went year-round last year in the offseason. There's always, in this age of college football, it's never really off-season, quote-unquote.
Exactly.
It's wild because we have the early signing period is December 20th, so gear up for that, people.
Yeah.
I love your breakdowns when we were finally able to talk about prospects or at least signed guys, and we'll get to break down the class that USC picks up in this early signing period, but it comes really fast. I feel like we go like, oh, spring camp's gonna come, and then it's here, and then we're talking in the summer, and then it's the next season, because that's how it felt like last season. But we'll be here. Cody, you and I have talked about maybe basketball too. Yeah. Because high school hooper Cody is.
Yeah, make sure you check the tape. I don't know what camera on right now. I could hoop a little bit. That's the only thing I'll brag about because I don't do it.
Nice.
Yeah. I can hoop a little bit.
So we can break down some basketball too if there's an appetite for it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Women's basketball team off to a great start. Men's basketball team, a little frustrating loss. We had some injuries to UC Irvine last night. But hey, it's early in the year.
Yeah.
Let's get those out now. Got to give a huge shout out though, Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier and Juju Watkins. Juju Watkins. If you haven't watched her, she's gonna be in that Caitlin Clark, that
baller.
Yeah, those top
upper
women's
echelon
basketball conversation very soon, and rightfully so. She's phenomenal. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on, and I've told Keely before that obviously me in this analytical broadcasting side, the main goal is to get to one of those bigger networks and do all that. But we could still continue to do this podcast. My heart is always going to bleed Cardinal and Gold. Even if Above and Beyond go on from here, I would love to keep this thing going and continue to do podcasts. Now, obviously, I don't know what either of our futures are going to hold, but as long as we're both around, then...
Oh, you're telling them about this part?
Well, you going next step too, going higher and higher as you continue to go up.
Who knows?
Yeah.
My phone's
your phone, yeah. But no, either way, I mean, it's a great group too that we get to work with. I love getting to work with you and Sua, Jordan, Sean, all those guys, Max. We have a great time doing that. But no matter where my future in broadcasting takes me, I would still love to maybe, even if it has to be virtual, whatever it may be, doing the Victory podcast going forward.
It makes my heart so happy.
Yeah, no, a big part of that too is not only just us and what we get to do here, but the fans as well. I've loved
100%.
I was away from football for too long, USC football. And it is so much fun. I look forward to every Wednesday, every Saturday, getting to do this, getting to talk to fans, all the questions, Twitter, Instagram interactions, both good and bad. But yeah, I have so much fun doing it. I know it's a little rant right here, but that kind of clarifies the future of this and what's going on.
No, and I haven't mentioned this yet on air or to you actually, but I've been like a proud mom this season because I've had people come up to me like at away games and at home games too, but they have gushed to me, Cody, about you and how good of a job you do and how informed you make them as fans. And so I just want to give you your props.
Well, I appreciate that. And
people love hearing from you, and I'm so glad we have you on the show.
And I wouldn't have been able to do this if you didn't send me some random text a year and a half ago saying, hey, that episode we did was kind of fun. How do you feel about, so I thank you for that. Give me the platform.
But, of course.
And that was kind of when I got done playing was, do I want to coach? Do I want to get in the broadcasting side of things? And when you gave me the opportunity to do the podcast, I said, all right, I'll try it out. And I have so much fun. I'm a football junkie. I love breaking down film, watching film, talking about it. I love to, and I'm learning more and more to relay football terminology and it's not to question anybody's football intelligence out there, but to be able to relay it in a way to where, that makes sense.
22 pony.
Yeah, 22 pony. You can be at Thanksgiving dinner next week and be like, yeah, man, UCLA does a great job running 22 pony personnel. What's pony? Oh, that's instead of a fullback and a running back. Now they have two running backs and two tight ends. See, that's where I'd stop.
I'd be like, it's a great small horse.
Yeah. But no, that's just, it's fun for me to be able to do that, and I love seeing fans reach out to me. Sometimes other respective broadcasters in this industry will reach out to me or talk to me when I see them at USC games saying, hey, great breakdown. I loved watching your breakdown this week. I learned a lot doing my prep going into the game. So I've had a blast doing it. It's been so much fun. But again, this would not be possible without you inviting me, but also the fans.
No, the listeners.
Growing the show.
Listeners, 100%.
And especially those fans who have stuck with us throughout the entire year when the season wasn't as planned and there was some frustration, rightfully so, but again, thank you guys so much. And it's been such a fun opportunity. But I know that was a question that we got way off the tracks there, but that answers what the offseason is, some of the new listeners, what to expect. We're going to keep you up to date on everything you need to know about USC football, all the recruits, all the signees, all the new faces in the transfer portal once they sign, once they get here.
So many, we expect so many changes to happen to this staff as well.
Yeah, I'm excited.
New DC. But there's a lot to cover. We will be here to cover it.
This is going to be, like I said, probably the biggest offseason that I can remember in recent history for USC football, and what better time for us that we get to cover it and be a part of it. So thank you guys so much for all the support.
Yes.
But anyways, back to questions. Sorry, I went on a little rant there.
But in the spirit of Thanksgiving, definitely so thankful for the listeners. I know we haven't said that in a while, and I know the schedule has been so weird, the podcasting schedule, because I've gotten sick. Dion had a baby, like all this stuff, but everyone's still loyally listening, and I'm just so thankful. So thank you.
I'm going to add too. I want one more third wish list because I'm giving Keely her flowers too, because just so you know, we record, then you do all your other stuff, then you have to edit both video, and again, we have great interns with Jada, Tierney, and Emily here today helping out with the video, but Keely does all of it. Like, this is all her. I show up, I talk, and then I say, okay, I'll see you Saturday, and then I leave. So a big part of that is you doing all that. So my third wish list is going to be bigger parking structure, all 22 access. And maybe get us an editor to take some of that pressure off of you.
That would be helpful, yes. Yeah. I will say that. Well, it's fitting that Emily is producing for us today because Emily makes my life so much easier. She's my intern for the last 2 years. She edits quick hits. She's the one who makes quick hits happen. So
I know you can't see her, but Emily,
in the spirit
she's over there smiling.
of giving our flowers to people who need to, shouts to Emily as well.
This is a
good
thing.
Vibes.
We're leading into the holiday spirit with this vibe.
Look at our pumpkins on the table still.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks of us not podcasting.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay. Back to questions now. We have some about your time versus UCLA, Cody.
Yeah.
Jake said, what's your favorite play versus the team over there?
Favorite play?
That you made?
Yeah, it would probably have to be my favorite play. There's two. So there's two. Both touchdown passes was my last game. Well, favorite game against UCLA was my last game ever in the Coliseum, senior day. A chance to, that was after that year happened, right, with Sark getting let go, Helton taking over, then Max Turk, the late, great Max Turk, my best friend, my roommate, tore his ACL early in the season. So it was just a lot of injuries, guys getting hurt. It was just such a tough year, up and down, but we still had a chance to win the Pac-12 South against who better than UCLA, right? So that game was amazing. We ended up winning that game, but there was one through a back shoulder touchdown to Darius Rogers, which was an unbelievable catch, amazing, best hands. I'm still saying that.
Wow.
Maybe not overall receiver that I played with. Obviously, I played with some great ones, but hands, sure-handed catch no matter what, no drops. Darius Rogers has to be up there. Wow. Not only when I was here, but in USC history. I mean, if go back and watch, you probably won't find a lot of him missing a catch or dropping a ball.
Wow.
But the last one would probably have to be the best one. I think we were up by a touchdown or 10 points, and we had one drive to kind of put it away, and we ran power to Justin Davis. I mean, over and over and over to try to run the clock out.
Yeah.
And then the last play was, all right, we ran power 5 or 6 times in a row. Then we had a power fake off. And power means guard pulling, me reversing out, downhill, fullback Soma Vanuku, leading the way for Justin Davis. And then the last one we ran was a play action. And obviously UCLA had seen the same play 5 times in a row. They bite down hard. Taylor McNamara slips to the back corner of the end zone, threw that. He made like a diving catch too. He didn't need to dive, but it was like – but he'd been in blocking the whole time. It was like an exhausted. He caught it, laid on his back, and was just like spread out and was like, and it was like everybody in the Coliseum and all of us, the team. I get the chills talking about. I just felt that relief, like we won. We did it.
Yeah,
that was the nail in the coffin. We did it. The game's over, and obviously UCLA had no chance coming back after that. But it was an amazing feeling, and I'll never forget the crowd reaction to that game, how loud it was, and then obviously holding the sword after the game and leading the band and all that, which was emotional. I was crying while doing that and then running off the floor. It was awesome. So I appreciate those questions too. Those are fun to answer. But yeah, between the Darius Rogers back shoulder touchdown to get us the lead, get back into it, and then the final play to Taylor, throwing that touchdown pass to him to kind of seal the deal, those were two that were probably my favorite against the Bruins.
What's going through your mind on senior day? Can you like process that? Because that's the only time that you come out of that tunnel slowly.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough too. You know what's tougher is not being a senior on senior day. Having to stay, because on senior day, you know, like, all right, I'm going to see my parents. I guess that's hand in hand because it's you're emotional. You have to block out all that emotion. You're seeing your parents, your family, whoever's out there for you, giving you flowers, doing the pictures, doing all that. But it's also tough being an underclassman on senior day
and you're
trying to stay locked in, wanting to support the seniors, but also like, hey, okay, I'm not doing the festivities, all the stuff they're doing, but I've also got to stay locked in, warming up. But it's tough. It's a different, because football is all about consistency. It's all about a rhythm. It's all about, like, I would eat the same thing pre-game, same routine, everything right before every game. To mix that up a little bit, it's more tough mentally to stay locked in. But then once the whistle starts and opening kickoff and the game begins, all that's blocked out, right? You're right back into that mode. It's just staying locked in that 30, 40 minutes before going into senior day. But yeah, it's an emotional day. There's going to be some tears shed. There's going to be some slow walks out to the 50-yard line, but it's awesome. I'm excited we get to celebrate our seniors and what they've done for this football team.
Final question from me, Cody, is from Lewis, who said, besides Caleb, which USC player from this team heading to the NFL are you most excited to see, hoping the Saints draft Austin Jones and Eric Gentry?
Yeah, those are two good ones. Those would be guys that I'm excited to watch at the next level.
Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a very good NFL back. He's got all the characteristics of an every down back, right? We've seen him make plays on first and second down. We know he can come in as a power back. We've seen him out of the backfield. I remember in the spring game, the first time he caught a ball out of the backfield, made all those guys miss. He's going to be a very good player. Another guy for me, too, is we talked about earlier, and again, I've been high on this guy, Taj Washington. He's going to be one of those sneaky slot receivers, maybe not a 1 or 2 at X or Z, but one of those F receivers at the slot position that can come in, be very good on third down, those quick short routes, the in and out routes, squirrel routes as we call them, or the jerk routes going back across the middle, and then he can do a good job of stretching you vertically as well, getting down the field. So he's a guy I'd like to keep an eye on too in the NFL, and I think whatever team picks him up he's gonna be one of those guys too that I don't think is gonna get the recognition he deserves going into the draft.
And then everyone's like, who's this guy?
And then he's going to be one of those
off.
rookie mini camp guys that the coaches kind of turn their heads at and say, who's that guy? You know, obviously they know who he is, but making some plays, and he'll go into fall camp making some plays and be one of those surprise guys that makes a 53-man roster and then has a great career in the NFL. So I'm excited. That's all. Again, me being hopeful for him. I want him to succeed. I want all these seniors to succeed. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we'll cover that in the off season as well. We keep a track on pro day and
100%.
Guys going to the NFL where they get drafted. So stay tuned.
Alrighty, Cody. With that being said, I have random.org pulled up.
Okay.
We have 48 entries from 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Okay. Let me go to the list.
It was a blueberry, and I can't remember what you said.
It was a blueberry. Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
No, it's fine. You don't have to answer that. It was just
blueberry, and what was it?
I don't know. It was in the ether. It's fine. I just think it's fun that people are willing to tweet these emojis that they probably never use in their daily lives. So thank you all.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah.
Seeing the emojis, I'm like, I don't think I've ever used that one that I picked.
Okay, 1 through 48. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I got the list.
27.
27 is Fatima SZO on Twitter. Fatima SZO. Let me go to that. Fatima ZO. Yep. Okay, so the name is Fatima SZO. The @ is at USC Diva Fatima 16. And they have not won before. Woo. So that's a first-time winner now. So congratulations to Fatima. I hope I'm saying that name right. But you are this week's emoji giveaway winner. And again, your options are a USC hat, a USC long sleeve shirt, a short sleeve shirt, or a USC sweatshirt. It's about to start getting cold. Maybe
it is cold. It's rainy today.
Maybe not in LA, but it's supposed to be 80 again in a couple days. So yeah. But those are your options. And again, we can sign it. I can sign it. Keely can sign it, or we both can sign it. No pressure.
No pressure.
Yeah,
I was waiting for the unsigned.
Yeah, if you want it unsigned, so you can wear it around without our signatures on it, you're more than welcome to do so as well. And again, if you're a first-time listener and you don't know what the heck we're talking about for emojis giveaway,
thank you for joining us on the last week of the regular season.
But we do an emoji giveaway every week. So when it's home games during season, we get the opportunity to give away tickets to games that aren't sold out. So you can win tickets during season. So for next year, stay tuned for that. But the off season, we normally do apparel, which again is a hat, short sleeve, long sleeve, or a sweatshirt that you have an opportunity to win. In a second from now, Keely and I will both say a random emoji. If you've been listening this long, you will obviously get the emoji. And then if you want a chance to enter the giveaway, if you follow on Twitter, or if you respond on Twitter, you have to be following myself, Keely, or the Victory Pod there.
And not or.
All three. And yeah, all three of them. And then respond, either message, response under a tweet, whatever way you want with both emojis. And then Instagram, if you respond on there with a message, a DM, whatever you want, you have to be following myself, Keely, and the Victory Pod on Instagram. And then we put it in random.org and pick a winner.
Well done. That's a mouthful, and you got through it.
Yeah. So with that being said,
I know my emoji.
I haven't even thought about it yet.
I actually decided it during the defensive preview portion. Because you mentioned...
So you weren't listening to me is what you're saying?
No. No.
Okay.
It made sense because you said funky so many times, and I thought it was funny that I'm going to go with a disco ball because it's funky.
Okay, disco ball. I typed in food on my emoji search, so I guess that's where I'm at today because I'm pretty hungry. I'm going to go disco ball, and a hot dog.
Okay.
I'm going with a hot dog.
What a combo.
That was one of the first ones that popped up. And
I don't know
going
why
with it.
I'm clapping.
Well, we try to make them. Sometimes we'll keep with the theme of the week.
Yeah.
Like when we get to the holiday season.
Yes.
Normally we'll probably be
Yeah.
relative to that, but
So disco
normally
ball?
we try to go random. Yeah. So disco ball and a hot dog. Again, whatever Twitter, Instagram, whatever you respond on, you have to be following on all three platforms or all three accounts. I'm talking a lot now, and I'm getting ready to talk some more.
We're sick and delusional, so let's wrap this up with the Cody question segment.
Yep.
2-minute drill. I believe in you, Cody. Take it away.
I'm ready. I got this one out a little late, so not as many this week. Okay, the first one is from Joe Osorio, 23. Who would be your dream hire at defensive coordinator? I don't want to give away too much. This will be more of an off-season topic we can discuss.
And you say giveaway in the sense that, like, you don't know anything from Lincoln Riley's brain.
I'm saying giveaway from what I
the
want.
podcast.
Yeah,
yes.
giveaway from Cody's brain. Two names that have popped up for me. Now, obviously, I have to do a little bit more research in it. We've been so locked into the season. Jim Leonard would be a guy.
Makes
and then
sense.
maybe someone that we may be facing this weekend that's wearing the wrong colors here in L.A.
Okay.
Coach Lynn. I wouldn't be opposed to that conversation getting brought up. But again, Joe, we'll dive into that a little bit more this offseason. Also keep you updated on what we hear. But that'll be interesting, too, to see when that hire is made.
Yeah. That's going to be
of
fascinating. The early signing period.
Yeah, you've got to guys got to know who they want to.
The windows are so short and early now.
Yeah, so that could probably happen a lot sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But those are two names that pop up right away. Now, obviously, there's some other ones out there as well, but those are two from the short research that I've done that I would not mind having here at USC. The next one is from Jeff Jennings, 33. My son and I will be there for our first rivalry game. How early should we get there?
Oh, that's fun.
Jeff, first of all, also that's going to be an awesome experience for you and your son.
Yeah.
So how exciting. But I don't know. I mean, it's a 12:30 kick. It depends. If you guys want to tailgate and walk around, and I don't mean tailgate like you and your kid are going to be going to tailgates and bounce around, but if you want to walk around and see the atmosphere pregame.
Yeah, it depends on how much pomp and circumstance you want.
Yeah, I would say.
Because, like, there's Trojan Walk.
Yeah.
They get there like 2.5 hours
they normally get there
beforehand.
right when we're about to start, or right when we're starting, I think.
Yeah, like 3 to 2.5 hours prior.
I'd say if you go shoot around
3 hours.
9:30. Yeah, 9:30.
Oy.
You'll probably get to see everything.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be a long day, but
hey,
again, if you want the full experience.
get that rivalry spirit.
But again, Jeff, that's going to be awesome. So I'm excited for you guys. The next one is from Brandon Johnson, 55. You going to sign with the Browns? Brandon, no, I am not. I am retired, and I've also already been with the Browns before. So
that is true.
I would not go back there. The next one is from this week. We have less. So Trojan mom and dad will get their question heard this week.
Okay.
Trojan mom 06. Why were so many guys on defense out of the game? Are they cleared to play this week?
We don't know. TBD.
So, yeah, stay tuned for Keely's
tweets
Trojan
on Thursday.
tailgate. Yeah, tweets on Thursday
And
or
yes, well done.
injury report on the Trojan tailgate show.
Well done.
Trojan Dad 516 said, how important is this game to a USC quarterback to beat UCLA? Very important, right? And the main part of that is when you get here at USC, obviously you want to win all the games, but the first thing you learn as a recruit is beat Notre Dame and beat UCLA, right? Those are two things that you're highly judged on. So I was fortunate enough to beat both of them in big-time games as well. So it's going to be a huge one for Caleb. Now, obviously, he's done that already, beat Notre Dame and UCLA last year, but how great would it be to go 2-0 against UCLA this year? Next one's from Kevin Peterson. What scheme on defense do you think will be successful next year? Again, Kevin, I'm not sure, but going into the Big Ten, you're going to expect a little more weight, I would assume, on the front seven.
Beefy,
I guess. A little more physicality up front. Scheme-wise, all is going to depend on who the defensive coordinator is and what their beliefs are and what type of defense they run. But again, another exciting question, so stay tuned for that one. The next one is from D. Arias 81. After the firing of Grinch, was he the problem with our defense, or is it recruiting/player issue? This is something that we talked about earlier, and I alluded to kind of what Sua said on the defensive game plan. Is yes, there needed to be a change, right? The scheme was not working. There was not improvement that we wanted to see on the defensive side of the ball. We weren't getting the most out of our players, but there were times, and I don't want to use Grinch as a scapegoat. There were times that he would call a home run play and guys weren't making the plays. He'd put guys in the right situation, the right scenario, and we'd miss a tackle. Or we'd have a free rusher on a blitz and not getting the sack in the backfield and allowing a big play given up. So there was hand in hand with that. But this is going to be something in the offseason for Coach Riley and his staff to look over, to self-scout, to watch the film again and say, hey, this is where we need to add depth for recruiting-wise or the portal-wise, and this is obviously hiring a defensive coordinator, what scheme will fit best for the players we have and recruiting going forward, the guys we want to get going into the Big Ten. The next one is from Josh Harden 1. In your opinion, why have the Trojans not been running an up-tempo offensive scheme? Josh, this is something that I've talked about before, just playing fast, right? Lining up and going. Just lining up and picking a play, not spending so much time on checking at the line or trying to get into the perfect play scenario. And we saw on the TV copy against Cal, Coach Riley saying, hey, let's go, let's go. So it could be a combination of Caleb. And obviously as a quarterback, you want to be in the right play. But sometimes when you just have good playmakers on your side of the ball on offense, just go. Let's just beat them with speed. Let's beat them with talent and not worry about checking into the perfect play. And if it's not the perfect play call and we go fast, then it's Caleb's job to make Lincoln right? I'll throw it away. I'll move on. Hey, the defense got us on this play. We'll go to the next play and we'll finish with the ball in our hands, not turn it over. But in my opinion, I think it's just trying to maybe get into the perfect play too much. Again, I'm not in the meeting rooms. I don't know exactly what the checks are at the line and all of that, but I would like to see us play a little bit faster this week. Not allow the defensive line for UCLA to get into a sprinter stance, to get comfortable. Let's snap, catch them off guard, and give our advantage to the offensive line. The next one is from Jake Lamb. People don't consider UCLA as our true rival, more like an annoying little brother. Who was a rival for you? I'm with you on that one. That's kind of the term we always say. That's the annoying little brother.
Says that all the time.
Yeah, it is. But and they say the same thing about us, I'm sure.
I don't think they do.
No?
No.
Well, they don't have the right to. So, but again, yeah, I would say it's tough. UCLA and Notre Dame every year, it was just back and forth. Kind of whoever the better team was that year, that game got a little bit more hype and a little more excitement. Last year was the perfect scenario: a ranked Notre Dame team and then a ranked UCLA team to go to the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah. This
year, obviously the Notre Dame game didn't go as planned, but UCLA, both teams, both of us not where we want to be. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, no matter who it is, who you're playing in a rivalry week, just the fact that it is a rivalry game makes it so much more fun, a little bit more, excitement going into the week. Practice is a little more tense, but it'll be fun to watch this one. And obviously let's keep the victory bell. And then the last one is from Coach Joe 951. Can they simplify the defense? Players look confused at times. Joe, that's something we talked about earlier in the show is too many times guys confused, out of place. And then we talked about the quote that Coach Nua had of, you can only simplify it so much, but you have to go off of what the team is doing that week. Again, could see multiple quarterbacks this week, so you can't simplify it to the point of this is what we're going to do no matter what. You have to play off of what the opponent is doing. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that starts more so with let's get the call in earlier. Let's know what defensive play call we're going to call 2-3 plays in advance. Now I know down and distance changes, that'll mix up the play calls here and there, but overall let's condense the playbook. Let's pick a couple plays that we want to go to, a couple pressures that we want to use this week, and allow our guys to play fast. But that is a great question, Joe, and that is the last one from me.
Yay. Alrighty, Cody, time to wrap it up. I want to, but if I don't, you will get mad at me. So it's time for you to thank everyone once again.
Oh, yeah, my finish. Well, I did that earlier, but I'll be quick. I'll be quick on this one.
Okay.
We again apologize for last week's episode. We're both still a little under the weather, but wetter. Under the weather. I normally say retake that. Don't retake that. We're still a little under the weather. But yeah, I'm excited that we got to go out and do an episode this week, be back in studio. I missed you guys last week. I still did some of the live tweets, so I got to interact with some of the fans. But let's be positive this week. Let's support the team. Let's have a lot of is it sold out, the game?
It is.
Okay, cool. So let's have a lot of noise, a lot of crowd involvement at the Coliseum.
Crowd involvement.
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
You're
tired.
Delirious. I'm going to take it back from you. Thank you, Cody.
Guys.
That was great.
Fight on. Let's go get a dub this week and keep the victory bell at home.
Alrighty, we are sick and delirious, but thank you for listening to the final regular season preview podcast. We love talking to you guys, so thank you for listening. That's going to wrap it up. That's Cody. I'm Keely. We'll see y'all next time.